Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 143 of the Citrix session. I'm your host, Andy Whiteside. Today is September 18th, 2023. I know for the first, month or so of the year, we joked about how we couldn't believe time was flying, but I'm going to be honest, this is insane. It's September, and I think it's still February. Good group today. I'll start just going around the horn here in the Muppet Show format. I got Todd Smith, from up in the northeast New England, but covering Canada. Hey, Todd.
Yes. Hey, is right.
I promised I would never do that again. And I turned around and did it. Sorry.
Glad to be on. Glad to be on again.
Any Canadians on the panel here? Okay, good. I didn't offend anybody I'm talking directly to, and I don't think it's offensive. They just probably get tired of it.
There you go. They roll their eyes is what they do. That's what they do.
Yeah. It's CANADA.
I'm going to go to Bill Sutton next because Bill's the XenTegra team member on with me. Bill, how's it going?
It's going well, Andy. Not sure which Muppet I am, but maybe Cookie Monster with the color blue. But, nevertheless, going well this morning.
I think that's a different Jim Henson Muppet, but it's still a Muppet, right? I didn't realize until recently the Sesame Street people were Muppets.
Yeah, I think he was involved with it.
Yep.
Yeah. They were all his programs, but I put Muppets like Muppet Show, but I didn't think Cookie Monster and Oscar and all those people were Muppets. And then somebody pointed out one day they were, and I guess they are. Didn't realize it. Geremy Meyers. Jeremy's with me. Geremy, how's the weather where you're at?
It's wonderful. It is absolutely wonderful. If you'll notice, I've got sort of a pseudo hoodie on. I notice you've got a jacket on. We're starting to get there, Andy. This is like the best time of year when it starts to cool off a little bit. It's awesome.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of convertible cars, none of them super nice, but this is the time of year to be driving those around.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, ragtop season. Todd gets that for a week and a half.
Yeah, we have about 2 weeks of summer.
Yeah. Well, your summer is ragtop season. Our summer is put the top up before you get sunburned.
Well, I think Todd just got a hurricane though, right? So how did the hurricane blow through?
It's a nor'easter. It's a nor'easter.
Yeah, it swung way out to the Atlantic, so it really gave us some wind and not a lot of rain. But it's been a wet and miserable summer for us up here in the Northeast. It's rained almost every single weekend.
Is it technically called a nor'easter or something else when that happens?
Yeah, it's a nor'easter. Hurricane has to hit certain wind speeds and rotation, things like that. Usually when a hurricane hits cold water, it dissipates quickly and basically just becomes a nor'easter.
So in the South Atlantic, it's a hurricane. In the Pacific, it's a typhoon. And in the Northeast, it's a nor'easter. Is that what I heard? But it's all the same thing. It's just rain.
It's just water.
It's just rain.
Tropical storm and nor'easter would be the same, but a hurricane's a hurricane.
Yeah.
Charlie Lopez, they're making fun of you a while ago. Looks like you're in a subway somewhere. Is that a real background?
It is a panel I put years ago to make the COVID-19 transition work from home much more entertaining for people.
Did you put that up there to keep your kids from coming in and putting graffiti on your wall like some people do?
No, I actually would have painted my wall with my own graffiti. It was my wife that told me to put the panels up. I have spray paint.
More companies are putting graffiti like artwork up so that people don't graffiti over top of their wall.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Well, comically, where I'm from in Panama, graffiti was a big form of art you'd find everywhere. So it was just something I grew up with naturally.
It definitely is, but some people don't know that their art's not art. When it's art, it's art. Pretty awesome. It's just a phallic symbol on the side of the wall. You're like, that's not art. Amir, how's it going?
Doing great. Yes, enjoying the great weather in Raleigh, North Carolina. So it started just to cool down. That's good.
Yeah, don't tell the rest of the world, even though I think they were figured out. The weather in the Carolinas, Mid-Atlantic's pretty good most of the time.
Yep. Can't complain. For sure.
And Charlie has pretty good weather until those nor'easters start coming through there. And then all of a sudden he's not so good.
What are you talking about? It's nasty. It's humid. I walk my kid to school every morning at around 7:40, 7:30. My wife and I are coming back complaining the whole way that we need another shower just from the walk.
How close do you live to the water? Do you get a breeze?
We get a little breeze, but it's about 7 minutes east.
Yeah. All I know is he lives in a spot where the last word is beach.
Boynton Beach.
I want to move back. I want to move on to the blog that we're going to cover in a second. But Charlie, do you live close to the kiteboard beach? How far do you live from kiteboard beach?
I am not familiar with a kiteboard beach.
It's near where Old San Juan, where all the casinos and stuff are, but not old San Juan.
Huh. Doesn't ring a bell.
I about died there. That's why I bring it up.
Brings
All right.
back
Well,
memories.
today's blog by Alex Birch is called "Citrix ServiceNow Integration: 5 Benefits for Global Systems Integrators (SIs). But we're going to talk about it today, and those same are going to apply to us. This is from June of last year, so June of 2022. And yes, if you're following us, we're going back in time a little bit. There's a ton of great Citrix ServiceNow content to cover that we didn't cover, and it's near and dear to Citrix Cloud Software Group, and it's near and dear to XenTegra because that's part of the recipe we're putting together is ServiceNow integration beyond just opening help desk tickets and Citrix integration. So Amir, you're probably our subject matter expert for this. Why did we choose this one, and what are they really covering in the intro section here?
Yeah, that's always good just to see back in time, just to realize how the product, and in this case, Citrix and ServiceNow, started working together and developing few features for our customers. We started with just a few, as these blogs mentioned, just an overview of what we've done, all the automation that we can do, and all the user experience enhancement that we can provide, putting together these two products with Citrix ITSM. So the user experience is one of the most important things for our customers. And so that's where we started to realize, you know what, we have to start putting more attention of what they need, a lot of feedback to our product managers. So we started just developing more and more features over and over the year.
So I got the first paragraph highlighted. I ask people, I've been on the ServiceNow train for about a year now, and I talk to Citrix customers, which I talk to all the time, and I ask them the very first question that's in this paragraph. Okay, you have ServiceNow, you have Citrix, are they integrated? If they say yes, the first question I ask, can end users reset their sessions using ServiceNow and chatbots and automation? And I have yet to find, I won't say any, there's been a few, but for the most part, people say no. This is like the most obvious thing in the Citrix world. If your session's hung, reset it without having to open up, actually help desk tech it or talk to a human being. It says, for example, IT teams still find themselves manually handling common incidents such as virtual application and virtual desktop session resets. That's a no-brainer if you have ServiceNow, isn't it?
Yeah, that's part of the conversation that we have in our last episode is how with this integration, you can save a lot of time as an Citrix admin and as an end user. Just imagine being on the phone with your VDI not working, and you have to stay for 30, 45 minutes until the help desk representative takes your call and just start just figuring out what's going on. If you have the power in your hand, say, you know what, I just want to reset my session with a single click, boom, you are back up working on your stuff.
So let me open this up to the rest of the Cloud Software Group guys. I'm trying to set up the rest of the conversation. Is there any, why do you guys think it's so important that we cover this topic for Citrix customers with ServiceNow or soon to have ServiceNow?
Well, I'll bring up one specific area where, Amir was actually digging into, and it's something that when you look at how a hospital or if you're dealing with someone, right, you're dealing with customers in front of you. If you have the ability to do self-service, you have the ability to also protect yourself. If you don't, what's going to happen to that customer and their experience dealing with you if you can't service, let's say a bank, you can't service that customer because you're waiting on IT to reset your session or do something, and then you have to sit there with that customer waiting on you, as opposed to waiting 5-10 minutes, whether on the phone or in person. Doing self-service is going to be so much better because not one, you're going to save the customer from having to have a bad user experience, but the company itself also saves itself from a negative perception of their staff, their IT, how it functions and stuff. So I think this is very important to dig into because efficiency is very important for a lot of customers today.
Yeah.
I'll take it a step further and say, I think the spirit of DevOps and just automating a lot of things is the expectation. It's really strange. Like the last 2 weeks, I've had more conversations around just automating the deployment of Citrix, automating, the integration of some things that I think a lot of organizations are coming to expect this sort of integration opportunity between their vendors. Like they're expecting someone to say, hey, what can you do with ServiceNow? What can you do with some of these other platforms? Like the whole idea that we've opened up, the Citrix Cloud API just so folks can automate things. I mean, I think this is just an extension of that. The assumption is we've got all these separate systems. We have limited resources. We need to automate as much as we can. And this is just a hook. And what's interesting, we said this on the other podcast, Andy, is we've got a lot of customers who own both. They're big ServiceNow customers, but they're big Citrix customers. Like this is an easy way to integrate these two platforms. And you should be doing it. It's only going to make life easier on your ops teams.
The other way I kind of talk about, you're absolutely right. And the other way I bring that up is, look, if you've got ServiceNow and you're not integrating and automating and using AI in the future or even now, then you're not getting the value out of all that money you're spending for ServiceNow. So yes, there's lots of conversations we had. Some of that's just dollars and cents. You might as well not leave that money on the table.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think the other thing too is a lot of organizations don't know what's going on, within their operations team. So for instance, we talk about resets here. I would like to understand how many folks are actually logging tickets and how many folks are just calling the guy they know to go reset a session. So you don't really have any insight into how much this is happening. You automate it, you give someone a tool, you got instant feedback on just how well things are performing in your Citrix environment, just based on the fact that how many sessions am I resetting? How many profiles am I resetting? Now you start to trend problems before they come problems, within your deployment.
Yeah. And to add on to that, Geremy, I think one of the biggest challenges a lot of organizations are having is compliance programs that are out there, right? Where you have to document every single change in your environment, and a user resetting a password or resetting a session may be required to report on that, right? So this gives you, because it is auto-generating a ServiceNow ticket that is a note in the system of record, which then can be reported on, it makes that compliance program much more, it makes it much easier to actually manage.
And I want to highlight real quick here the idea that you may already be in Teams, you may already be in Slack, and you don't even have to leave that to make this work because of the API integrations between the multiple layer of the multiple technologies. Bill, on the XenTegra side, are you seeing customers that are aware they could and should be doing this, or do they seem to be in the dark still?
There are a few, obviously the larger ones, but that have some capability. They're not as aware of these integrations that are built by Citrix, but I've had questions come up. How can I do X with ServiceNow and Citrix? And we usually point them to these types of tools or this type of blog, or we help them. But it's pretty infrequent. Many years ago, on a project that I was on, the customer leveraged ServiceNow for a lot of this. Before we had these connectors, they built it themselves and had lots of other capabilities between ServiceNow and what was then XenDesktop. So there's obviously a lot of capability here that could be leveraged through the ServiceNow platform in conjunction with Citrix. And it's great that Citrix is making it easier for these customers to get this done.
Yeah. All right. So Amir, Chuck was going into this a little bit. Charlie, help users self-service. That's one of the biggest wins for everybody involved. What are they calling out in the article here?
That self-service. It's more focused on this article to the virtual agent and how you can automate, the interaction within your ServiceNow instance and the Citrix world. So we are used to have chatbots all over the place with different products, and this is not something new for the end user. So you just have an active conversation that you can customize from an administration standpoint, and will make your life easier. It's going to make pretty simple a new employees onboarding as well. So because we have to keep in mind that it's not only a troubleshooting and issue resolving tool. It's a big integration that you can do automation for onboarding, for troubleshooting and monitoring and administration purposes. So for an end user standpoint, you can self-service applications, desktops. They do a self-service troubleshooting as well by doing the session reset, delete your profile. Even you can create your own support case and skip the line, and it's assigning directly to the Citrix administration team. So this self-service will give you, as an end user, the empowerment to do actions without the need of going to the help desk team and spend some time on the phone.
And Amir, fair to say that most people do this in their personal lives these days already?
Yeah, absolutely. If I have the chance to just resolve the issues, at least the most common issues by myself, and I don't have to waste a lot of time, why not?
Yeah. Charlie, any additional thoughts on the user self-service?
I think Amir did a really good job of really covering the whole entire benefit of moving from having to spend time having to call in, because sometimes we seem to forget that calling in to support, it isn't just a one-step process. It could be a 2, 3, 4-step process and require you waiting on hold multiple times. You don't even know if it's a peak time or not. And this really helps to take that and shrink it down to seconds versus minutes. But it's also about how we integrate from an help desk perspective, right? It clearly talks about not having to go back to director to take any of these activities and actions. So having that self-service integration with Citrix, having the ability to take these actions all within the ServiceNow console itself, as opposed to moving to director, also provides that additional benefit and efficiency for GSIs and administrators having to manage that action as well.
And I think part of what you're pointing out is whether it's Slack, whether it's Teams, whether it's the ServiceNow user customer service portal, they're probably already in there doing other things. This just brings Citrix into that mix.
Exactly, all of them. And a lot of this I look at from a lens where I used to work in support, and I remember some of these cases could take hours, right? But when you look at how long it took them just to get to the engineer, you would also be kind of surprised on how long that took. So it's just kind of looking at it from an old lens I used to have, and really seeing the inefficiencies of going through that waiting period of like a Disney line, just getting through a line. Like it doesn't have to be that painful.
Right. Geremy, Todd, Bill, any additional comments to the user now? Hey, that's a new name for this product. User now. ServiceNow enable self-service.
No, I mean, I think these guys hit it. The idea that, I mean, I'll be perfectly frank, I don't want to call the Citrix IT help desk. I'd much rather have a quick tool I could leverage to reset a password or a session or, anything along those lines. And so I think I've just gotten kind of used to it. I expect it, in fact. So why wouldn't I bring that into the enterprise with, something like this?
I'm kind of old. I think the way I would want to use it as an user, I'd want to go in the chat box, tell it what I have going on, who I am, and how to reach me, and then I'd wait for them to call me back. Maybe I get my resolution the way maybe Amir is talking, but maybe I just get the ball started and it's off my plate, and then I wait for the phone call while I get other stuff done.
Yeah.
Andy, you mean like?
I was just going to say, I think the biggest thing, Andy, that you just hit on is, improving that user experience when dealing with a help desk or a support system, right? If I can tell it a minimal amount of information and it's got the intelligence to figure out the rest of it, that would improve that experience. Because one of the things that users hate to have to do, even myself, right, is repeat that same set of information over and over and over again. It should know based on, either the phone number I'm calling in from or some type of credentials that I've already entered in, that here's the information you need to know about Todd.
Right. Yeah, it makes it feel very disconnected when it doesn't.
Yeah. And I look at it this way too. I mean, listen, I've been renewing my truck registration with the state of North Carolina for the past 2 or 3 years, and it's all a chatbot. And I'm figuring if the government can figure this out, then maybe we should sort it out just with enterprise IT.
Yeah, I agree. Every time I do that experiment, that was painless. That was compared to what it used to be, it was painless.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Amir, next section says helps to deliver a seamless user experience. I think we were just touching on that a little bit.
Just a little bit.
My comment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just to give you an example, as a new employee, you want everything on a single pane of glass. easy for you. You're new in the company. So what if instead of going to an internal website on the company, you just to request your laptop, and then you got to go to another system to get access to your applications. And on top of that, if you are going having issues to log in, you have to call to the help desk. So what if I have everything on a single pane of glass? That would be awesome. That's what we can do with ServiceNow.
So Amir, real quick. So the chat bot that comes with ServiceNow, so either A, I'm logging into the ServiceNow portal, the chat bot pops up and I can chat with it, or you were telling me there's a mobile app for ServiceNow as well. So there's the virtual chat bot. Obviously, I could leverage the ServiceNow application, and I guess what this is hitting on is, listen, I'm in Slack all day, I'm in Teams all day as an enterprise user. I don't have to leave these tools. I can access the chat bot based on that integration with Teams or Slack or whatever tool I happen to be using.
You can keep using Slack or Teams and just call the agent from that application and start that conversation with your virtual agent.
But I think the takeaway here, though, is to kind of what Andy was talking about a minute ago is I'd rather go in and, if you're an older person like me, you might have historically wanted to enter the request and wait for somebody to call you back or even call someone. But with this tool, the way it looks, we don't even have to do that. We've got a chat bot where we can say, I'm having a problem with my session. It should know who we are and know where our sessions are, and then we can pick which ones we want to reset.
Yeah.
In other words, complete self-service. I don't have to talk to anyone other than the chat bot.
That's a great point, Bill. And that's where all the flexibility we have with the custom workflows allow us to create that different option or flavors. We can develop this virtual agent to say, okay, give to the end user these different options. You can keep the conversation going, or just the side icon to say, you know what, just give me a call.
Right. Yeah, you can. That's always
an
option.
I want a representative on the phone with me. I feel more comfortable interacting with a human being than an AI. So yeah.
And as I highlighted, the bottom sentence of this paragraph says an automated AI-enabled virtual agent can interact directly with end users and trigger actions. I mean, up until now, historically with chatbots, it was some kind of search or some type of responses that were pre-programmed. The more we use these chatbots versus human beings, we're going to find that they get smarter and smarter and smarter. It's been pretty okay up until now. Now we got AI to sit behind these chatbots. It really should become better and better and better at understanding what we're trying to tell it. The more we use it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think what the AI-enabled chatbots do really well is they appear to understand context a lot better. Whereas, in the past, it was looking for very specific phrases, like you pointed out, but just understanding the context of the question and being able to sort of act appropriately. Because, how many of us have called the help desk to say my Citrix is broken, knowing that it could be one of 17 different things, right? But just understanding that you need something smart enough to really peel back what the person's asking to what's the root of the issue. So hopefully it makes the IT support experience much better.
I mean, by the numbers, it's probably going to get better. There will be one-offs where it didn't understand what you were trying to tell it, but for the most part, it should get better and better. All right, next paragraph, Amir says, helps perform faster RCA. I could have made a joke there, but I'm going to keep going. Better performance monitoring.
Yeah.
RCA, let me read it your RCA stands for root cost analysis. Go ahead.
Oh, in my previous life as a Citrix admin, I would love to have this feature, because at the end you have everything in a single pane of glass. You can create policies based on different integrations we have for DaaS or Citrix Cloud. We have a direct communication with status.cloud.com. We have the communication with Studio. So we can trigger events or incidents on ServiceNow. So we don't have to wait until, because that happened years ago. You realize as a Citrix admin that something is not working as expected on your environment when your help desk gives you a call and say, you know what, Amir, we are having hundreds of calls that users cannot access to this application or this virtual desktop. And then you went back to your delivery controllers and said, oh yeah, one of my brokers is down or something, is not accepting user sessions. So with this, automatically the end user is creating incidents and goes to the same queue and identifies what resource is not accepting connections, to give an example. So it's from a single console on ServiceNow, you have all the incidents, all the alerts from both on-prem and cloud, and can give you the opportunity to react or prevent an issue, a bigger issue.
Yeah. Yeah, so fair to say, Amir and Charlie and Geremy is going to speak up on, we believe and have hoped for years that human beings did root cause analysis on everything, but the truth is we never actually do root cause analysis.
Well, some of it is it's a manual process is what it is. And so the tools, the way they were built in the past is, we had information that sat in a few different spots, and it was kind of up to a human to correlate all these things, right? And so the idea is, if we can start to trend things, folks are calling in and doing this thing. We've got this system over here already collecting data around this group of servers. We got help desk users, or because we've got folks talking to the chatbot, resetting sessions, complaining that they can't access something. We can start to correlate this thing and have the tool start to present the insights, as opposed to 2 or 3 different teams using metrics that they own, trying to correlate what actually happened. And I think this is the idea behind the tool is we can correlate things and just reduce our RCA time down to minutes as opposed to the next day. There's a lot of power here.
Well, and I think the other thing there is identifying what really needs to have an RCA, right? If you're starting to see trends occur over time, you can start identifying those commonality or those common elements that are causing this, or that could potentially lead to a root cause analysis. Because once again, root cause analysis sometimes are the most expensive thing a support organization has to do, because it does require so much manual effort. If we can collect a pool of data and start making some intelligent guesses or some intelligent decisions and get those insights, it's going to get better over time. Once again, it's improving that user experience. It's improving that admin experience as well.
And I would add this similar to not to bring up a secondary technology, but like Citrix Performance Analytics. If we're looking at this from the perspective of even how the article presents it, if you're able to look not necessarily at a root cause from a support issue perspective, but if you can look at a timeline of how long it's taking for you to process these requests, I mean, you can clearly see, one from beginning to end, the data within the analytics system in ServiceNow telling you how much time this is taking. Now, if the system itself could determine where there are bottlenecks, that's going to be great. But the idea here is that it's clearly telling us that switching and being able to transition to, let's say, a self-service model, you can use the same ServiceNow analytics engine to look at the historical, looking at your current, and now you can start seeing at the cost benefits and the efficiency benefits by making those switches. So not necessarily just looking at it from a technical root cause analysis perspective, but I think this ServiceNow analytics engine is also very powerful to help in regards to itemizing the time frames it's taking for IT to handle some of these requests itself.
Yeah. So Amir, the next section talks about delivers unmatched benefits to the customers, aka the end user. I think it's talking about here. We'll find out. What's the point in this section?
It's back to the workflow, customized workflows, basically, that don't think of this just like the out-of-the-box features that we have automated. There's no limits. Basically, what we do, it's open the door to the APIs. And once you have control over the APIs, you can automate anything you want, reaching or querying the database. So, and remember that when you install the ITSM connector, you create 2 tables on your ITSM instance, one for VDA information and the other one is for licensing. So we have a great documentation on the Citrix developers with all the APIs, comments, and what you can do. And in top of that, there's something coming that it's part of the workflow designer integration, that it's a workflow center that will be kind of a drag and drop a user or admin GUI that will help you to automate workflows based on API calls or scheduled tasks as well. So that's something that we are working to be on tech review.
And all of this is driving towards a happier end user experience.
Happy user and better admin experience as well.
And the
Yeah.
article even says loyalty as part of that. Go ahead, Geremy.
I was going to say, Andy, so I'm just thinking of, even in the XenTegra, managed services business, right? I just think about the user experience that you can create for your customers by leveraging, sure, the out-of-the-box tools that, the Citrix integration with ServiceNow provides, but just the workflows behind it. So you've taken on a new customer, right? And once that happens, or you just added a group of customers, what workflow kicks off that does a lot of things in the background that just happens for the end user, right? That you didn't have to touch, that no one on your team had to touch. It could be a welcome email, it could be all sorts of fun things. And the important thing is I think it helps XenTegra create that user experience for their customer, right? It's good for the end user. I think it's good for the service. I just think there's a lot of creativity that this enables for us.
Well, so Geremy, let me hit one of the things that's near and dear to what you just said in the XenTegra story is because we're building this as a managed service that we can then sell to our customers who either have ServiceNow or don't have ServiceNow yet. This really makes this type of functionality reachable for customers of all sizes. I mean, all sizes, small, medium, large, enterprise. They can all afford this now because of what we're doing.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Okay, so last section here says helps enable ITAM. So that's IT asset management. ITOM. Let me just say it the ServiceNow way. Helps enable ITAM and ITOM integrations. ITOM stands for IT operations integrations. Amir, what are we trying to cover in this section?
With this IT operations, remember customers do this planning, capacity planning, not from a server standpoint, more like help desk team. How many representatives we need to cover all the needs from our end users. And what this integration with ServiceNow and Citrix has is specifically a single pane of glass with trends and statistics of what is the type of most common issues that the customers or the users are reporting. How many session resets were done for the last week or for the last month. So that will give you more information about the time that are spending your help desk representative solving Citrix issues. And if you integrate ServiceNow, you can save that money or put that team doing another specific features or more specific troubleshooting on a daily basis.
And this is just like incredibly powerful, right? So when you think about what IT asset management is, I mean, it's trying to understand, listen, you've got all these VDAs, what's running on them? Like what patch level are you at? What version of Workspace app? All these things. And you've got, you got users calling in or you got users on the virtual chatbot trying to reset sessions, can't connect, giving that feedback. How you start correlating things, data is power, right? So from an operations perspective, if you can go, how many of these VDAs got hit with Patch Tuesday, right? They got upgraded, and all of a sudden it correlates with folks who all of a sudden can't log in. I mean, that was a much easier correlation than back in the day when we had to go, who can't log in? Let's go look at their desktop. Who that person can't log in? Let's go look at their desktop. Like, it just increases the speed. Number one, it just increases the amount of data you have, a lot of insight into your fleet of assets that you have out there. And secondly, just from an operations perspective, you understand what's going on. You have better visibility. You have the analytics around, what's happening, and it just helps you resolve faster, quicker, which, just getting way more complex.
Yeah, only going to get more complex. Only. All right, Bill Sutton, any comments around this overall blog and what we've talked about today?
No, I mean, regarding what Geremy just said, I think this section at the ITAM and ITOM really, there's so much that can be done here to automate things between the platforms. And I've had some experience with this in my past where a customer actually had the whole onboarding effort. A user would join an organization and they would check a box, or they would go through the onboarding process and say, give them a VDA. It would go out, it would take the master image, spin up a new VDA, assign the user account to the appropriate delivery group or AD group, whatever. All that stuff was automated from the front end back into the VDI environment, and that really created a lot of efficiencies. And then, of course, if the individual left, it could do the opposite, all automated, all ITOM. And now the ability to leverage the bots to do routine things that historically took a help desk person looking at a console or 2 or 12 in order to resolve the issue. Now we can do it with a chatbot. It's just a leap forward that I think is inevitable, but nonetheless is going to save a lot of admins and help desk folks valuable time.
And Bill, I pointed out multiple times on this call, I know so many people out there listening think this is out of reach because of what Citrix has done to make it easy, because of what XenTegra does to make it implementable or manageable from our side. This does not have to seem like technology that you can't get to just because you're not a Fortune 500.
Correct. Absolutely.
All right, Geremy, Todd, any thoughts?
I know, Todd. I've said a lot. Maybe I should shut up.
I think he's eating lunch. I'm just kidding.
Always seems to be the challenge of getting a word edgewise with Geremy. I think one of the things is we're on a continuous improvement spectrum here. You think back to the days of when I started off in IT, the help desk was managed with a whiteboard and a series of paper logs, right? And now you've got self-service and you've got users helping themselves through tools like chatbots and being able to pull this information, have access to information. It's not a matter of having the user go out and Googling something. We've taken the power of Google and brought it into some internal systems. And part of that is, the changes and improvements that we've made within our Citrix management consoles and our processes, as well as teaming it up with something like ServiceNow to be able to provide that engine to allow for a better user experience, maintain and manage compliance programs, and more importantly, make it much more efficient.
For sure. And we need to be doing that. I want to say this. So this specific section here talks about ITOM, IT operations management. One of the things I love about ServiceNow and its origins, but where it's at today, is because if you implement this software right out of the box, a lot of ITOM things, a lot of change control process, a lot of IT operations management things that you don't currently do. If you just follow the software as it's laid out, you'll start doing things you're supposed to be doing anyway. Charlie, as one of our guests, anything that we didn't cover that you'd want to cover here?
I think we did a pretty good job of covering this really well. I mean, from my perspective, I think the ServiceNow integration with Citrix and what it's become today is, and I just look at it from my own, previous years of support experience and looking at the patterns, when you're taking hundreds and hundreds of calls, you're finding patterns in these calls and we're documenting them, but that's like over 10 years ago. Now, after so many years, these patterns are coming to the forefront and we have customized workflows. We have ServiceNow integrations that these patterns have essentially surfaced up as being so repetitive that it can be automated. And then, of course, you add the twist of the unique environments, unique requirements of other customers, and you add the customized workflows. And I think this is a great way of organizations being able to streamline and become a lot more efficient by giving power back to the users. I remember having conversations about self-service password reset on storefront from Password Manager because it was some super awesome technology because users were able to use self-service and we couldn't get that on NetScaler. It became a huge problem. And ServiceNow integration, this kind of brings it back again. I just have nothing but goodness on this. I think this integration is awesome.
So I think there are two ends of the spectrum. This does some pretty amazing things. You get pretty creative with your workflows. Like there's a lot you can do and really invest, and that's awesome. But I'll also say that there are some out-of-the-box workflows that are pretty easy to tee up and get moving that it just make it easy to do. And so I guess the point I'm trying to make here is we got a lot of folks who are ServiceNow customers who are also Citrix customers who already have both solutions. I know I said this before, and I would encourage you to just invest a little bit of time to standing it up and getting it working. As it turns out, the workflows are pretty powerful if all you do is turn on the workflows. Now, once you get there, you're going to find that there's a lot you can do after that, but man, you already own it. Let's go use it.
Well, and I was just on a phone call earlier with another company that's a big player in the IT space, similar to Citrix, maybe bigger at this point. And I went to the ServiceNow store and showed them you don't have any built-in integrations. I know you have APIs, but that didn't count. Citrix has made it easy with this ITSM connector. All right, Amir, you are our special guest, Charlie special, but you're extra special. What would you want us to take away from this review of this blog?
I'd say stay tuned because there are a lot of new features coming soon, especially to make automation easier. To the point, as I mentioned before, drag and drop, and just to have the logic of the workflows, and it's going to be pretty simple. A user experience, it's our major, I would say, the most important thing for us, for all Citrix admins. It's the end user is the one that is going to complain or put a good word on you. So as soon as we have the end user happy, working all the time with a good experience, we're going to be good. So from a technical standpoint, if we can help that, making it easier for our Citrix admins with new integrations, with new features out of the box, or custom workflows working together, it's going to be pretty awesome.
Here's my statement. No matter who you are, if you're listening to this podcast and you're involved in IT, your number one job is productive, happy end users, period, no matter what you do.
Yep, 100%.
If that means they can self-service everything they do and they never have to talk to you, then that's fine. All right, gentlemen, thank you. We'll talk more and more about Citrix and ServiceNow integration. It's an awesome thing, and we're going to lead the way for everybody involved. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
See you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.